Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our attendees all over the world. Welcome to this forum. I would like to remind everyone, should you need Chinese translation, please click on the translation icon on the bottom right-hand side. Today, our topic is, in spite of major crisis, women entrepreneurs make a difference. I am Winnie Chow, the moderator for this forum. I'm the Vice President of World Federation for World Peace Taiwan, also known as WFWP Taiwan. And I'm the CEO of Komong Educational Institute. We're the sole agent in Taiwan promoting Kumon method. Let me just briefly introduce WFWP Taiwan. We have 4 committees within WFWP Taiwan. They are Youth Welfare Committee, Family Welfare Committee, Global Women Entrepreneurs Peace Alliance, and last but not least, Elderly Welfare Committee. Should you be interested in any of these informations or our committees, the work we are promoting in Taiwan, please drop us an email and let us know, and we will get in touch with you. Thank you. Back to our topic, the outbreak of COVID-19 in 2020 changed the course on life. The pandemic is just one of the many issues we are being challenged with. We face a multitude of other crises, some of which already existed, but some of it was triggered by it, such as the climate change issues, the biotechnology risks facing possible collapse, or the overpopulation issues, the economic crisis issues, political issues, and also racial issues. But personally, I think because of all the lockdowns and lack of interaction with people, I think the wellness issues should be addressed accordingly. When written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of 2 characters, 危机, which represents danger, and the other one represents opportunity. Everything depends on the states of mind. The way we behave in response to something is because our thoughts persuade us it is the best decision to make at that time. Hence, when we are contemplating the impact of our thoughts, we see that they strongly affect the entirety of our lives. They provoke our emotions as well as our behavioral responses. I do believe when we are faced with a major crisis, we do need to keep a calm mind. We need to understand the situation so we can behave and take actions accordingly. We need to prioritize and to make sure we comply with the need-to-do list before we can pursue the want-to-do items. So for today's forum, we will divide our sessions into 2 main parts. The first part will be the presentation of our panelists. Then we will proceed to our second part, the panel discussion time. Should you have any questions, either specifically for someone or just a general question for all, please send the question or comments in the chat box. We will try our best to answer your question or your question accordingly. However, if we run out of time, we will get back to you via email. So please leave your question with the email address for reference. Thank you. We shall begin our first session. We have 4 panelists joining us today in our forum. I'm so pleased to welcome these women. They are professionals in their own industry, their own field, and it is a great pleasure to be able to connect with these women for this purpose. We are all sharing what we have gone through last year, and it's not easy. Everything is new to us. We try to just keep our heads up, and we try to just look forward. We're just trying to be brave and just be together. So I would like to use this opportunity to introduce them. First one is Ms. Irene Liao and Ms. Wendy Xie, Ms. Yiling Ye, and Mrs. Cynthia Fernandez-Gali. So please allow me to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Irene Liao. Irene is the General Manager of乖乖Corporation Limited. She is a visionary businesswoman whose focus is on revamping and rebranding her family's 60-year-old fast-moving consumer goods business into a modern global organization. She shares how she manages to turn a huge crisis into an opportunity and navigates this period in a manner that would not only help her company survive, but thrive. Irene is a native of Taiwan and resides here with her parents and 2 dogs. Her topic today is turning crisis into opportunity. And let's welcome Ms. Irene Liao.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to join this amazing forum, and also having the chance to share with you all of my experience from the past year. So before I begin, I will do a really quick introduction of my family business, which will give you a better idea toward the second part of my presentation. So for 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has imposed very sudden and drastic effect on a lot of manufacturing business, including my own company. So turning crisis into opportunity is something that I gained from the past year. So for my family business, we had, back in 1956, my grandfather started doing pharmaceutical trading from Japan to import medicines from Japan to United States and from Europe to Taiwan. And in 1964, we set up an actual manufacturing plant in Taiwan, and that pharmaceutical facility was certified with GMP standard. In 1968, our family business branched out into the snacks and confectionery, which is set up together between my grandfather and also my father. And the brand name is called Guai Guai, and it is the first snacks manufacturer in Taiwan to establish with full IP concept, which includes brands, logos, mascot, and jingle. And in 1976, we started working with government, the Board of Education and Ministry of Health by using our mascot and also our jingle and turn that into cartoon to educate children on how to wash hands properly. So with my family business, so there are 4 major sectors. So one is manufacturing, and second one is R&D, and we also have IP, and then also there's trade at the local domestic level and also international markets. And we have 4 major product lines that currently are still fully manufactured in Taiwan. So the threat of pandemic crisis. Last year with the sudden strike of the COVID-19 pandemic, my company, we faced with 3 major elements. One was the loss of market demand, and the second one was fragility of supply chain, and the third one was the physical and mental health of my employees. So the first one, loss of market demand. So in 2020, our annual revenue dropped by 25%. And for Q1 and Q2, our income dropped by more than 50%. So as you can imagine, that imposed a significant threat in the survival of my company. And the second threat was the fragility of supply chain. So the import raw material and products were severely delayed due to lack of containers. And logistic and other variable costs increased between 25 to 200% depending on the category. The third crisis was the physical and mental health of my employee. So first, everyone, including as a company, we all worry about collective and cross infections. And for the staff, they fear of losing their earnings. And the third is concern over our family members' health and safety. And last one that we noticed was the lack of support for single parents, especially young single mothers. However, with every crisis, there's the opportunity. So opportunity that we discovered that emerged from this pandemic crisis was the awareness and demand in ethical and sustainable development goal products, local agricultural produce, and also domestic tourism. So first one, the awareness and demand in ethical SDG products. The first one is farm to table. So prior we used to have about close to 40% of our raw materials were sourced from abroad. And with the pandemic, that we were forced to start sourcing raw materials more at the local level. Second one, organic. We also increased the use of organic raw material as the consumers became more and more aware and demand of healthier ingredients. Third one, vegan. With the pandemic, one of the situations is that a lot of consumers, they have concern over animal infected diseases. So a lot more consumers, they demand products that are that are either vegetarian or vegan. And the last one was clean label. So clean label is a products that have been certified that has no additive, and right now only 67 of the food manufacturers in Taiwan were able to receive clean label certification. And below the picture you see is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And this is something where my company, we're trying to achieve step by step. So local agricultural products. So from within last year, we have purchased directly from local farmers as well as local and regional farmers associations. So far we have successfully used and developed with more than 20 types of local crops, fruits, vegetables, tea, and even flour. And throughout 10 regions in Taiwan. And for the domestic tourism opportunity, I think this is where it's extremely unique in Taiwan and very fortunate for us because Taiwan were able to really have a tight control over the pandemic. And so toward the second half of 2020, there was actually big growth in the domestic travel. So we collaborated with quite a few regional and also municipal tourism bureaus. And lastly, how can we help as a company in time of major crisis? So there were several areas that we also focused on. So one was public announcement. Second one is charity. The third one is corporate governance. And the third one is to create memorable and relevant campaigns. So with public announcements, we have worked with, last year we worked with National Health Command Center, Ministry of Health and Welfare, Education, Star Exchange, and also the Golden Horse Festival. So from the picture that you see below are some of the products that we collaborate with various government bureaus to promote campaign messages. Charity. In time of crisis, a lot of people, they are in economic despair. So for us last year, we donated equivalent of $1 million worth of products to charity organizations, underprivileged groups, as well as to Ministry of Health and Welfare, that's specifically for the frontline medical workers. And also corporate governance is especially important during time of crisis. So I think to maintain full compliance and transparency in respect of regulations and laws in order to protect stakeholders, the employees, customers, consumer suppliers, shareholders, and also environment's best interest for the long term. So I'm very proud and honored to share that our company was awarded by Taiwan Tax Bureau as one of the few 2020 meritorious enterprise of the year, despite the difficult time that we had. So how can we help? Because with the significance of our brand and our presence in Taiwan's market, we decide to do quite a few different things that are relevant to what's happening in the society. So for one of them, as you can see, this is, so we have provided products for the police officers, and then in hospital and nurses, they also are a big fan of our products. And then we also collaborated with hotels, one of the hotels, to create a乖乖art company mascot themed hotel rooms. And to your far right, this is we work with a local high school on campaign games to raise the issue of bullying in the campus. And we also have donated a song, a cartoon that we have produced many years ago in teaching kids how to wash their hands properly to maintain hygiene. So just a very quick share. 乖乖洗手歌，乖乖下课又一起来洗手，手手水然后想到双手搓搓揉一揉，指甲缝也要抠一抠哦。20秒洗洗手，才算是通过，冲冲手，再冲冲水龙头。嘿，乖乖小朋友，拍个小长手，把病菌都赶走，做个健康小朋友，健康快乐乖乖。So so that's one of the examples that what the company can do in time of major crisis and still contribute to the society. And so my last message is to anticipate, to prepare, and evolve. Every crisis is the opportunity to evolve, to be better. And I think that's something where this is the message I would like to share with everyone. And thank you very much for your attention. And back to you, Winnie.
Thank you, Irene. Oh my goodness, I actually grew up with乖乖, and and I think that brings back a lot of great memories. And you've actually changed this, bring乖乖to another level, and we're still surrounded by it, and I have seen you done so many great things about it with it. Thank you, and I look forward to our panel discussion later on. Thank you, Irene, for sharing your story and your experience during the pandemic period. Especially last year was really hard. Thank you for sharing. Next speaker will be Ms. Yiling Ye. I would like to introduce Ms. Yiling. Yiling is currently working for SBI Digital Asset Holdings in Japan and serves as the COO at CovidX, one of the SBI Group's portfolio companies in Taiwan. She has worked in the field of finance and fintech for over a decade in various capacities, including a career at Goldman Sachs and Barclays. She shares how this crisis has created an unexpected and much needed opportunity that enabled her to network in ways that was not possible prior to this crisis, thereby turning this into a blessing in disguise for her and allow her to grow both personally and professionally. Yiling is native to Taiwan and currently resides in Taipei. Her topic is a blessing in disguise. Yiling, thank you.
Thank you, Winnie, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Yiling, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to be here today. Just let me share my screen with you. Okay. Just as Irene did, I would like to share how my work was deeply impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic over the last year. I would like to first briefly go over my background. I was born and raised in Taiwan until the age of 15. That's when I moved to Australia to attend high school. After graduating from high school, I attended the University of New South Wales in Sydney and graduated with a major in finance. Following my love for baseball and the Japanese language, I decided to move to Japan. While in Tokyo, I attended Waseda University to get my master's degree. As far as work experience goes, I have been working in the traditional banking, financial industry, and the fintech industry for over 10 years. I started my career at the British investment bank Barclays and then moved to Agricultural Bank of China. Prior to joining SBI, I was employed at Goldman Sachs, a US investment bank. It was about 2018 that I joined SBI Group in Japan. Since joining SBI, I have participated in many global investment deals, conducting due diligence on blockchain companies, some of which including KubiX and outing in Taiwan. I have recently been transferred from SBI BITS to SBI Digital Asset Holding to help further development for SBI's global fintech strategies. It was roughly 2 years ago that I was appointed as COO and board member at KubiX. Since then, I was flying between Tokyo and Taipei quite often, as well as other cities around the world. However, as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, I haven't been able to travel internationally for work, and I'm now based in Taiwan indefinitely. I'm known among my circle of family, friends, and colleagues as Baseball Queen. And I even have a baseball fan page on Facebook with over 12,000 followers. That being said, I think the biggest impact that this pandemic has had on my life is that my baseball game attendance has taken a huge hit. Before COVID-19, I would attend over 70 games a year. Yes, you heard that right. It's 70 games, not 7 games. However, this past year, I've only been seeing less than 10 games. This is because I have spent a majority of time in Taiwan, and it was always been very hard for me because baseball is my life. Luckily, I have been to watch a few games while I'm in Taiwan and watch this a lot of Japanese professional games over TV and internet. And this will hold me over until I can go back to Japan to watch the live baseball game again. Now I would like to quickly share with everyone what my typical monthly schedule was before COVID-19. It was like September 2019 that I started in Tokyo, Japan, and fly to Taipei for 3 days to help out SBI's portfolio company, KubiX. A few days later, I hopped on another flight to go to Tokyo, from Tokyo to Busan, South Korea, to attend the fintech event. After that event, I took a train up to Seoul with the CEO of KubiX to visit various cryptocurrency exchanges there. I was in Korea for about a week before I flew back to Japan. And upon returning to Japan, I went to Fukuoka to attend some baseball games before flying back to Tokyo. And about mid-September, I had to fly out from Tokyo to Taipei again for a few days. Then 5 days later, returning to Tokyo, I flew to Seoul again for Korea Blockchain Week. And after spending another week in Seoul, I flew back to Taipei to assist KubiX with some business operation for another few days. Looking back, I can't even imagine how I survived all that travel. I remember waking up in the hotel and not remembering which city I was in. And all this travel was basically my life period to COVID-19. I guess it was safe to say that the pandemic has given me a break from all the traveling. I love traveling for business and didn't like the idea of being stuck in Taiwan. Strangely enough though, not being able to fly internationally had actually allowed me to spend more time with my family, something I hadn't been able to do since moving abroad over 20 years. I would love to share a story about my mom and my childhood. I came from a single parent family, so my mom had to work hard to pay for both my and my brother's living and education expenses. Being a successful businesswoman, she had to fly all over the world for business, just as I did before COVID-19. As a result, I actually lived with my aunt and my cousins for many years before I actually left my hometown to Australia and Japan. It makes me sad that I'm not able to find any pictures with my mom during my childhood. And the only one that I could find, the earliest, was when I was like 18 and I was back in Taiwan for a holiday. Seriously, I think this is the earliest pictures that I have of my mom and I. And this is the one in the middle. And another photo I found when I was a kid was one that I took with my brother. And this is the only photo I could find with him previous to the pandemic. It might sound strange to many people, but this is somehow normal in my family. I was 15 when I went to Australia and my brother stayed in Taiwan. He went to high school in the US, and that's the time when I went to Japan to learn Japanese and get my master's degree. We just never crossed paths during that time. But because of COVID-19, my mom, my brother, and I were actually in the same place at the same time. Here is a photo at the right-hand side. It's 3 of us attending my cousin's wedding earlier this year. I almost feel lucky that I have had the chance to reunite with my family, even under these trying times. Here are some pictures of my cousins. As I said before, I basically lived with them in my childhood. We were all very close, almost like brothers and sisters. This picture was taken in maybe 1988 when I was like 5 years old. It took us 30 years to create the same pictures, as much as I don't want to say it, but it's all thanks to the pandemic. It's given me a chance to spend some quality time with my family. So let's get into my professional life over the past year. I would like to tell you more about my work first. I currently work for SBI Digital Asset Holdings under SBI Group in Japan. SBI is Japan's largest online financial group. It has online banking, security, insurance, and even a cryptocurrency exchange. I mentioned before that I joined SBI in 2018. It was around that time that SBI started to invest in many fintech and blockchain companies around the world, including a few Taiwanese startups. Upon joining SBI, they made an investment in KubiX in both Series A and Series B funding rounds, which gave 40% ownership of the company. And soon after the Series B funding, I was appointed as COO and board member at KubiX. This was when I started to frequently fly back and forth between Taipei and Tokyo, and sometimes other countries too. Unfortunately, this means that I had very little time with the local team in Taiwan due to this traveling. However, the pandemic has allowed me to commit myself more to the local teams in Taiwan. I have I can say I have, since done some restructuring within the company, and I'm now in charge of 8 departments, including legal compliance, HR, sales, marketing, customer service, products, admin, logistics, and G&O. That's a lot, right? This past year has allowed me to commit more time in overseeing each team and evaluate how they perform within the company. I have finally gotten the chance to get to know everybody and work more close with them. While I've gotten to know them better, I hope that they have gotten to know me better as well, or maybe not. Before getting into the work I have done at KubiX over the past years, I would like to firstly just introduce how KubiX actually does. This means their main product is a physical hardware wallet for the safe storage of cryptocurrency. It is actually the world's first credit card-sized cold wallet and has sold over 50 countries within the past 5 years with the total AUM over $500 million. So a credit card size card like this. And also it's easy to use and very secure. So it has made it a hot product after the cryptocurrency market shot up last year. Now the Bitcoin is valued at more than 60,000 US dollars. Demand for the wallet has also been increased. While I was in self-quarantine last year, the team at KubiX even made a custom baseball green card wallet for myself to trim me up. Sorry, everybody, this special edition wallet is not for sale. Well, there's a new in-app service that KubiX provides. Start from end of last year, or you can just say it's an alternative investment product. It's called X-Saving. X-Saving is a type of centralized financing investment tools in the crypto world. It allows the general public to invest their monies into cryptocurrency through stable coins called USDT. So in general, $1 is equal to 1 USDT. X-Saving gives customers a chance to earn a 7 to 8% interest rate over 6 or 3 months. So it's kind of a short period investment returns. And the interest rate is more attractive than putting the money into the traditional bank or fund. While I was in quarantine, X-Saving was about to launch. And because I was interested to see how the market react. And therefore, I spent a lot of time promoting the product to my friends and families. While the product sells itself, I would like to say that I'm proud that I could get more than 10 people to invest within 1 week during my self-quarantine period. Over 100,000 US dollars, in fact. I never thought that I could do a sales pitch, and especially for a new product. But I guess my time in quarantine brought out some new skills in me. Another product line that KubiX focused on is called Signa. It's a RegTech product designed to help the Financial Action Task Force, so-called FATF, under the United Nations to solve issues regarding the transfer of cryptocurrency between virtual asset service provider. You can simply think it's a cryptocurrency exchange. So in the traditional financial world, banks use SWIFT code to record and monitor cross-border transactions. Signa acts similar to SWIFT, but in the crypto world. So it has been recognized by at this 25 cryptocurrency exchange in over 7 countries, including Japan, Korea, Taiwan, UK, Canada, Australia, and Singapore. Due to travel restrictions in the past years, all physical fintech events have been canceled, making it difficult to do business with foreign cryptocurrency exchange. And it was thanks to some contact I made aboard that KubiX was successful in doing tests with multiple exchanges in Japan, Korea, and also Taiwan. Overall, what I have learned in the past year is that we must constantly develop our networks and maintain good relationship with each other. For we never know when something as unexpected as a pandemic might occur. On the topic of networking, I met Winnie at the Women on Board Academy, which is a one-year program hosted by the Women on Board in Taiwan. The chairman of the WOB Association happens to also be the chairman of the Taiwan FinTech Association, with whom I had met through some business meeting. Well, her name is called Jacqueline, and she's the one in the middle wearing the glasses. It's thanks to Jacqueline that I was introduced to the WOB Academy. If it wasn't for her, I would have never met Winnie. And Winnie is the one who gave me the opportunity to speak in front of all of you today. I would like to personally thank Winnie for inviting me to join today's wonderful and inspiring sessions and to be part of this group of successful businesswomen. To wrap up things, I would just like to tell everyone that even though the pandemic is still going on, we must stay positive and taste negative. Anyways, let's get back to Winnie so she can introduce the next speaker. Thank you.
Eileen, thank you so much for sharing, and do appreciate it. Hope to definitely see more of you in Taiwan, and hopefully get to meet your, spend time with your family and all. I think that's just a beautiful story where you can't just reunite with your family, out of all these situations. So thank you for sharing. Next speaker, I would like to introduce Mrs. Cynthia Fernandez-Gully.
Thank you, Winnie.
Cynthia is an international school educator turned entrepreneur and consultant at Kumon. As Baha'i, her beliefs in unity and equality have been the cornerstone of her efforts to spearhead environmental projects and support women's empowerment and racial indiscrimination. She shares how she was able to turn her mess into her message as she wove her way through this treacherous period, landing with both feet on the ground against all odds. Cynthia is from India and currently lives in Taipei with her son and 2 dogs. Her topic is making my mess my message. Cynthia. Thank you.
What an apt topic, isn't it? Friends, can you see my screen? Friends, can you see my screen?
No, we can only see you, not your screen. Not your slide.
Only see me, not my screen. Oh, because this says who can share only, all panelists. So, okay, let me try again. I'm sorry. Now?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
What a wonderful topic, right? Making my mess my message. So right now we are in a mess, as we're dealing with technology and all, and that just happens, right? Like, and the message we learn from that is we just pick up and we move on to the next panelist. So here I am, friends. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored to be here. Winnie, thank you for this invitation. And, it's a complete delight. I'm an ordinary person from an ordinary background. And, Winnie invited me to share my ordinary story with all of the extraordinary people. So I'm, really honored to be part of this process of CSW. And this is my first time, being on this panel and sharing in this way. So please bear with me as I invite you to join me in my story. There's something really special about stories. And now this won't go back and forth. Yes. Okay. What's special about stories is that our stories bind us. They bring us together. It's a common strand that runs through all of us. And, while I'm sharing my story today, it's about my mess and, how somehow I managed to, and I'll share with you all the elements of help, to bring it to this place where I'm here with you today, wanting to share what I learned through this process. And this process isn't over, it will continue. And, the important thing is I want to acknowledge you because, today I'm here sharing my story because I got this opportunity to do that. But we all have struggled. We all have had a really, really tough time, especially during this COVID-19. I'm sure in one way or the other, we've all felt the impact. And so I want to honor your stories as well. And I want to invite you right now to just be a part of mine and, let's see what we can learn together through mine. And, and maybe someday you can share yours, you can comment, you can, just send us links to your stories if you have them somewhere, and we'd love to follow you. So please, I think it started here. So I think I'm going to tab this. So friends, my mess. I'm about to make my mess public, does that take courage or what? So, one thing delightful about messes is you get to be messy and you get to enjoy the mess, and you can't see the enjoyment while you're in it, right? It's only when you step out a little bit, you can say, hey, you know what? Actually, that was a fun time. So I'm going to share my fun time with you guys. Well, let me just start by saying this was everything that happened, everything that came about was the perfect storm. I couldn't have planned a novel better. I was writing a novel of my life, Let me tell you why I say it's the perfect storm. So my background is as an international school educator. I'm a preschool teacher. I've taught, lower school for a long, long, long time, almost 20 years. And recently, my experience in the teaching field was a little bit heartbreaking. So I decided that I kind of left that career I decided to move away from it, take a break from it for a while. And it also coincided with my son's last year at school. And I'd never been a stay-at-home mom. So I thought, hey, you know what? Great opportunity, let me do that. But of course, I couldn't just sit down there and do nothing. And, my mind is my mind. And so I wanted to do something new. And I did think of a new career. So somehow or the other, I was led into digital marketing. Now, for those of you who have moved careers, you know that this is probably a 360-degree turn for me because I come from a preschool background and I'm going into marketing, into learning how to set up an e-commerce store, how to do affiliate marketing, how to learn how to do a landing page and, also sharing codes and all of that. That was a huge learning curve for me. And, I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed learning about it. And I was still learning about it. I hadn't had any great success in it because I was still learning the ropes and I'd spent a lot of money learning, hiring, with my mentors and, getting into inner circles and because I really wanted to learn this. So what happened in the interim was my husband he's from the States, Jeremy. We kind of decided that his parents were getting older. So it was kind of time for us to go back home because we wanted to spend time with them. That also coincided with my son would be graduating soon from school. And so he would be going to college in the States. And so we just decided let's just move to the States. So we started the immigration process. We were recently married and, so we started the process. And so while all of that was going on, suddenly in came our little blue friend, the COVID-19. And so when that hit, actually, it really took us all by surprise, because my son and I were here by ourselves. My husband had gone to the States to try to arrange things for us. And, he was also working on his PhD, so he needed to get things settled and do his studies as well. And so we thought it was a good time. But when this came, it came in such a way that we had to really, here's where the mess really started becoming a true mess, because we were supposed to move. The immigration process took way longer than we thought it would. We were supposed to move within that year. So I hadn't really planned on staying here much longer than that. Then when we couldn't actually go back to India, because my son already graduated by now, we couldn't go back to India. We couldn't go to the States, because the immigration process means that you cannot really, get visas to go to the States while the process is in progress. So I really felt I was kind of stuck. So in addition, so we had to move. Our lease was over. We were living on our savings that whole year, because I did not, work. I couldn't. There's another reason for that, but this is not a platform to share that. So I was working on my entrepreneurial journey. So, our savings were kind of just kind of starting to dip. And plus, I had only saved enough money here to last us for 1 year, and I sent some of it to India as a backup. And when the rupee started plummeting down, when I was withdrawing money, and even the little savings that I had in stocks and all, when it plummeted everything, I panicked, and I took out whatever little I had, which was if it was, let's say it was 10,000, I only got $1,500 or $1,800 back, so it was a real learning curve for me too, in the financial field in that sense. And then having to move a home, we had 2 dogs. Here it is so hard to find a place with pets, especially if you have 2 pets, and especially if they happen to be the normal dogs, not the breed dogs, not the small little dogs. So we had a really rough time trying to find a place. And eventually, at the very last day, just before our lease was up, a couple of days before our lease was up, we found a place, and we just kind of moved into that place. So I'm not sharing this to, kind of complain and rant about this. Something wonderful has come out of this, and this is where I'm going with the story. So please bear with me. One thing I realized is, because I was in such a mindset, my beliefs were, I'd forgotten who I was, where I'm from, I'd forgotten my truth. And so my beliefs I started feeling stuck, and I started feeling alone, and I started feeling, I'm trapped. And, my mindset, I became really almost depressed, I struggled a lot at that time. There were countless times when I really wondered what I was doing. So, and I'm laughing right now, but that's my nervous way to deal with my stress. That's something that I picked up along the way when I was a kid. So, but this does not negate my experience at this time. And so, as I said, every cloud, every dark cloud is a silver lining, and I'm about to share with you my silver lining, because this is a phase, and we've all, as I said, been through this, and the story does not end there. There is a path out, and I want to show you what was my path out. It may seem simple enough, but that was where I found my relief. So here we go. Here's the pivot. I'd love to share with you the power of the pivot. I told you earlier that I kind of lost myself, right? I was feeling so broken and so alone, and so, I felt I had no friends, I had nothing, I had no one, because that's how I was feeling at that time. I was feeling so insecure, and, I'd had an IVF a little bit earlier, and, that wasn't successful. So, I'd questioned myself as a woman, I'd questioned myself. My whole identity was up in the air, I was under a personal crisis. And at that time, my first step towards pivoting, I'd actually, my friend Mersh and Brian, they've been a wonderful support to me during this whole time. And I attended one of our Unit 1 studies, we were studying about the life of the soul, the life of our life. And, and there was one phrase that was, one verse that was, I'd read only 1,000 times, but somehow that night, it it kind of said something different to me. It meant something different to me. It was about the fact that, we are not just meant to be here living, like someday we need to be in a different world. And I believe that our souls will live in another world and continue to progress. And that brought such healing and such comfort to me. So I really felt like I pivoted at that moment. The pivoting had started a little bit earlier, but this just really brought it home. And, I decided that I had to basically get back on this horse of mine and get control over myself, over my circumstances, and just take control over, I was just letting life happen to me. Now I had to happen to life. I want to acknowledge a few people in my life, first of all, my son, he was a huge reason for me to pivot, my why. I wanted to still be his role model. I wanted to still be his hero. I wanted to, still come through for him because, that's what a relationship with a parent and a child is. He was watching me. I wanted to be that person for him. He was he himself had pivoted at, that's his journey. I won't share it, but, he himself had, inspired me in so many ways. And then my friends, I mentioned Brian and Moshe, they were my two Baha'i friends here. And, the comfort, they also offered me financial support at the time and I needed it most, and, because of all the crunch and all, and then of course, Winnie, she offered her, because at one point I was so lonely working by myself as a lonely entrepreneur. And, I hadn't had much success. And so I had to keep moving, so anyway, and my coach, Andrea, so that was a part of my journey. And, and then I discovered that, actually I'm a warrior, and I have so much to be grateful for. So what am I crying about? And I continued my learning still, and I built a store on Etsy. I'm still continuing my affiliate marketing, my other marketing. I'm in the inner circles, I'm with masterminds, and I'm continuing my journey as, me, Cynthia, who's this person who God created to be who I can be. So here I am. And, all lovely stories, this verse, should prosperity befall thee, rejoice not, and should abasement come upon thee, grieve not, for both shall pass away and be no more. They're from the Baha'i writings. They really, comforted me, and they brought me so much more joy, so I was able to go through this period because of, phrases like this and verses and writings like this. And I realized that lots is actually happening for me, not to me. And my friends, here's my message, because no story is complete without a message, right? My message is, as I was saying, we are a role model to someone in my life. It could be our child, it could be our friend, it could be anybody, even people who are watching us. Our life is a story. So how we lead our life actually gives a message to others. So I think it is important for us all to remember whose role model we are and who are we showing up for, because, it's always someone, when you do something for others, it's much greater than when you do it for yourself. You find the strength within you. And, when something is in a spin, like my life was in a spin, the only way out of a spin is to keep your eyes on the road, to keep your eyes on where you need to go. That's one way to step out. This is actually the only way to get out of the spin. Otherwise, we're going to find a life spiraling out of control, and we'll have no control over it at all. And one that I love, Eagles, and this reminds me, let's rise above our circumstances. Life is always going to happen. These messes are going to happen, and we do not own these messes, we are greater than this. So let's rise above our circumstances and remember who we are. And of course, the anchoring while we're rising up, it's so important to anchor down, to anchor our thoughts, to anchor, whatever beliefs, I'm a Baha'i, so those are my beliefs, whatever your beliefs are, whoever, whatever it could be a parent, it could be, a religion, a cause, whatever your beliefs are, just anchor super strong down to that, because that is your core, and we cannot lose our core. And for so long I was so hesitant to reach out, to ask for help, to take help, and I found that that was actually one of my pivots, when I actually reached out and said, hey guys, I'm lonely, I'm alone, I need help, I need friendship, I need to be amongst people. So here I'm in Kuman with working with people, my friends, Moshe, Brian, Andrea, Shalini and Katie, and, my son, my family, they all came through for me. And I realized that, we are actually not alone. We cannot function alone, and we certainly cannot go through a crisis alone, because we are just going to go downhill. We need the circle of people around us, and to remember that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. And I'd like to close with this. This thought has inspired me so much. This is again from the writings of my writings. So let your vision be world embracing rather than confined to your own self. And there are two words that really stand out for me here. One is vision. It's not enough for us to just do a job and live, and we need to have something greater than it, a vision, a mission in our life, and embracing, world embracing, and not confined to ourselves, because when we step out of ourselves is when we see the true value. And so today I stepped out of myself, even though I was shy and scared to be on stage with stages and here sharing my story. But I wanted to do this because I know that you have your stories, and I have my story, and we're sharing our stories with each other so that we can be part of this whole circle of life. And thank you so much for listening. I'm going to turn this back over to Winnie. Thank you for your thought, for your time, people.
Thank you, Cynthia. That was lovely. It's not easy to share and to open up. I think, just talking about what has happened, it's just not easy, but being able to reflect on it, I think that's very important. And thank you for sharing and being so honest with us, and just talking about it openly. I think it really allowed us to appreciate when there are messes, there are like uncertainties, we need to just face it and really pivot, and everything is in the state of mind. Thank you for sharing. Next speaker, I would like to introduce Miss Wendy Xie. Wendy is a resident doctor at the Department of Pediatrics at a leading hospital in Taipei. She's also an avid story novelist whose goal is to soften the harshness of the perception of the medical world through bringing to light uplifting stories of humanity while promoting gender equality. She shares with us her experience while working in the hospital during this period and how the female doctors handled the situation. Wendy resides in Taiwan with her parents. Her topic for today is our extraordinary journey lies in normality. Welcome, Miss Wendy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy Xie. It's really an honor to be a part of CSW Forum this year. I'm a pediatrician from Taiwan, and I'm happy to see that people in Taiwan can live without fear of COVID-19 pandemic. Today, I would like to share with you our extraordinary journey lies in normality. The population in Taiwan is about 23 million. The statistics shows that there has been less than 1,000 COVID cases in Taiwan. Among these cases, only 77 were infected in Taiwan. Total mortality rate was around 1%. Of course, COVID-19 has changed our life and brought a lot of inconvenience, but we can still go to school, go to work, go shopping, visit our friends, attend weddings, things we took for granted before. I think we can all agree that one of the greatest lessons COVID-19 pandemic has taught us is that how precious it was to have a normal life. Thanks to our public health expert and people working relentlessly to make this happen. The Taiwanese are warm-hearted people. We take great joy in helping others. Even though we are just a small island, the people have a big heart. In 1999, a catastrophic earthquake happened in Taiwan. It took a lot of time and efforts for us to pull through this event. When many had lost their house and families due to Sichuan earthquake in 2008, and Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in 2011, Taiwan, with a population of 23 million, donated over $200 million in each event because we knew the pain and we wanted to help. With current COVID situation, Taiwan has previous experience with SARS back in 2003. Also, pandemic resulted from coronavirus. We wanted to share our experience and knowledge with the world. Last year, a crowdfunded campaign placed an advertisement on the front page in the New York Times to promote Taiwan as an ally in fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic. A brief statement in this ad was, "In a time of isolation, we choose solidarity." The professionals provide experience of pandemic prevention, knowledge, and technique for rapid tests, antiviral agents, vaccine. People donated ration medical masks to countries' lack of resource. During this time of crisis, we're not only able to take care of our own people, but also more than willing to make our best efforts to help other countries. Taiwan not only can help, but also is helping. During the pandemic, the whole medical system has to be kept with a good balance between taking care of the COVID-19 patients and all the other patients. As we know, COVID-19 does not only spread fast, but also cause critical conditions. If we are not careful enough, the incoming critical patients can easily tip the medical system over. Critical cases could expire and minor cases could become critical. Therefore, besides treating COVID-19 patients, it's also important to keep regular operation of other parts of medical system. For instance, Department of Pediatrics. Pediatricians also have to deal with critical and emergent cases. Even though compared to some adult departments, there is less risk of contagion COVID patients, we still have to be ready for an outbreak anytime. Our department is special, while females make up a larger percentage of decisions here. During this time of trial, I've seen great leadership skills from many female role models. Next, I would like to share some female leadership examples. Intubation is a difficult and high-risk procedure. The patient will spread droplets and sputum due to cough reflex during the procedure. Meanwhile, the operator had to get really close to the mouth to see the vocal cord clearly, like the picture on the lower left corner. There have been local cases which doctors got infected due to intubation procedure, with both SARS in 2003 and COVID-19. Regarding the difficult situation, our Chief of Critical Care Medicine, Professor Zheng, introduced a video-assisted intubation device. With this new device, we are able to maintain a safe distance while performing the procedure. The central picture was taken during a workshop for this video-assisted intubation device. I was the one intubating the model. Professor Zheng is a reliable leader, even more in difficult times. She kept saying, the residents are the ones who are in the most contact with the patients, and their work is the most challenging with the highest risk. We must do what is necessary to protect our young residents. This is Dr. Yan, who specializes in pediatric hematology and oncology. The Indonesian girl in the picture with yellow is Lina. She worked in Taiwan as a caretaker. Last year, she was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, which could be cured by bone marrow transplantation. However, pairing with samples in the bone marrow center here has failed. The only hope lied on Lina's family far away in Indonesia. But it happened to be 2020, a year that the border was strictly controlled. With a strong will to help, Dr. Yan utilized the international medical system, cooperated with International Labor Organization, and had many meetings with relevant authorities. The government finally agreed to let Lina's family come to Taiwan. During the quarantine period, we were able to perform the COVID-19 examination and HLA typing at the same time. As a result, Lina's 5-year-old sister was found to be a suitable donor. Dr. Yan led the team to complete a bone marrow aspiration on the 15-kilogram child and the bone marrow transplant on Lina. Lina and her little sister are both healthy now. I remember later after a press conference, our chief of department praised Dr. Yan in the meeting, and she humbly said, I couldn't have done this on my own if I didn't have help from so many others. Special thanks to our residents who have done a great job taking care of the patient. Pandemic prevention consumes plenty of resources and energy from the medical staff, but we did our best to make sure our medical system operates normally on a daily basis. Dr. Chao is the attending physician in the newborn ICU. With her leading the team, we were able to raise many extremely premature babies weighing less than 1.5 kilograms. And this cute girl called Nini had received many operations, having one foot stepping in another world several times. With the relentless effort from Dr. Zhang, who specializes in pediatric nephrology, leading our team, Nini was discharged after staying in ICU for nearly 6 months after renal transplantation, free from annoying dialysis. There is a BBC animation called The Power of Quiet Leadership. The content is from the Open University's Dr. Jacqueline Baxter. It was mainly discussing the difference between extrovert and introvert leadership. Leaders in the world right now are mostly male and extrovert, but quiet leaders have much more likable traits according to the followers, such as being good at listening, being thoughtful, and always giving the credit back to the team, just as the attendings I previously mentioned. Even though there are also some well-known quiet male leaders, such as example mentioned in the video, Bill Gates, Mahatma Gandhi, there are more female quiet leaders compared to male in general. Therefore, it's worth paying more attention to such a topic. I feel very honored and lucky at the same time that I could have the opportunity to work under these quiet leaders during the COVID-19 crisis. I am a resident physician who still has a lot to learn. I can barely be called a leader at work. However, I'm also a writer, apart from doing my best to be a physician. I'm also determined to write the stories of people in the hospital. The motive behind writing the stories is that I want people to feel the warmth from the place we call hospital. Behind all the medical devices and medical procedures, there is more about love and life. On the other hand, I hope with the help of interesting stories, people can see the work of medical care for what it truly is. This can not only help ease the tension of the patient-doctor relationship, but also help people to receive correct medical information with a better mindset. Last but not least, I would like to address the difficult situation female doctors could face at work. I think there is more work to be done when it comes to gender equality in the hospital as a working place. Although the kids are the patients, I always feel healed by their innocent smiles. They give me the strength to keep going. This is a job which brings tremendous amount of stress, but also unimaginable amount of joy. Even though these children have to struggle so much just to survive, it also shows us how strong life can be. Watching them getting discharged and growing makes me believe that the world can become a happier and freer place if we take courage and fight together, just as these little fighters have fought so bravely for a better tomorrow. Thank you for your time. I would love to meet you someday, literally face to face. And thank you, Winnie, for inviting me today. Back to you.
Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate your sharing. Definitely working in a hospital during this period, it's not easy. And I would personally like to thank all the nurses, doctors, everyone working to just help all the patients and in different fields to make sure everyone's healthy. And thank you for all your efforts. Wendy, thank you so much for sharing. For sure, it's not an easy position to be in, but all the efforts, I'm sure, has been paid off with those little smiles and, you know, seeing those kids growing up. That's just beautiful. This concludes our the session, our first session, and may I invite all our panelists to be back on stage on our screen. Yay! So let's go into our second session. I think this will be the real excitement, because with all your presentations, I have a lot of questions to ask. I'm sure our attendees have some questions to ask as well. If you do, please leave in the chat box and we will get back to you. Hopefully we'll have enough time. But my first question I would like to ask, Wendy, how did you stay calm? With all the hiccups just now, it's just like, but you know, with your presentation, of course, you're very well prepared, but I'm sure in work, it's the same situation, you know, one after the other and one, you know, I'm sure a lot of beeping and bounce. It's just, I can just imagine. I've never worked in the hospital, but how do you release your stress? That's one question I have, because under such stressful work environment and, you know, profession, how do you do it? Can you please share?
Okay, thank you for asking, Winnie. Okay, ladies, you may not believe what I'm going to say. So first, I would like to introduce something we call the duty syndrome. You know, our duty shift is on call for 24 hours, which has been already reduced from 34 hours in these years. As I said, it's stressful, tiring, therefore causing a weak mind. So unable to stop myself from shopping online. You know, cell phones are just too convenient these days. And most of them are actually unnecessary things you won't buy when you are awake and you will regret on the next day. That's what we call the duty syndrome. Nevertheless, I've got to say, it feels so good when I press the pay button and see the shopping list. It does release the tension. And there's another stress-reducing way I would like to share, probably only in Taiwan, is the handmade drink. You know how much Taiwanese love to drink these stuffs. You will see us ordering drinks delivering during the crazy busy day when I'm stressed out. Milk tea, which has been my favorite, can magically smooth my mind. Especially when I'm busy, my brain consumes glucose surprisingly fast. It's direct and convenient to draw sugar from the drinks. Who cares about the figure between life and death, literally? And bubble tea, you know, some people call it tapioca milk tea in English. Although I'm not a fan of it, some of my colleagues say they urge to chew the tapioca balls when stressed out. And last but not least, I think it matters to consider your work as fun and to have a team doing the same way. It doesn't mean we don't take the job seriously. It means we find interesting things doing work, like cute words the patient just said, and consider caring these children as playing game with them. Besides, we share happiness with each other. That's why I choose pediatrics. There's always magical power on children. Even it's annoying to leave the bed and rush to delivery room at 3 a.m., everything becomes acceptable while seeing a wrinkled, sticky baby crying loudly. Even it drives you crazy to see the kid pull her central catheter out. You can forgive her immediately while seeing her hang down her head with guilt. We chat with them, we play with them. Like I said in my presentation, the job brings unimaginable amount of both stress and joy. So focusing on joy helps me reduce the stress. Thank you, Winnie.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I release my stress by doing my painting nails and my manicure. We all have our own ways to reduce stress. So going back to you, Cynthia, so all the mess. And when I see you, how do you stay grounded? You know, by sharing what you did just now, it's just not easy. And you smile, you laugh it out, but I don't know how you do it. Can you please share?
Certainly. Thank you, Winnie. That's such a lovely question. How do I stay grounded in all this uncertainty? You know, recently I attended a UPW with Tony Robbins. You know, I have my own spiritual journey, and then I have these earthly gurus. Tony Robbins happens to be one of them. And, you know, in UPW, he shared some of the human significant needs. I mean, human 6 needs. And amongst those 6 needs was one need that he talked about, which was certainty, the need to be certain. And the paradox with this need to be certain is the only thing about certainty is you cannot be certain. You know, uncertainty rules our life, you know. I mean, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a saying, it says, Parivartan hi sansar ka niyam hai, which means change is the law of life. You know, that's what it actually says. And, you know, if change is the law of life, of course, uncertainty is going to be part of it. But of course, we get so ensconced in our little lives and our comforts. And, you know, we want to just make a bed out of our comforts and just lay there. And, you know, like, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, it's still familiar, and you want to be in that familiar space. And, you know, because you don't want to be kicked out of there and go somewhere and do something else. You know, so when all of these things were happening around me, you know, like, I felt like, you know, I like that car in the spin, right? Like, it was just spinning, and, you know, there was no way at that time, and I wasn't able to get out of it. And what I realized during that time is the only way to feel any kind of grounding or any kind of certainty is to go back to who I am, you know, to my roots, you know, to remember who I am, and also to future projects, to think, you know, 3 years from now, you know, is this going to be something that matters to me? Is this going to be something that is really going to hurt me or going to anger me in the same way that it does now, or, you know, makes me depressed in the same way? And it won't, you know, because 3 years from now, I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to be in different circumstances, you know. So I have to remember, first of all, who I am. And secondly, where am I going? You know, so once I have this trajectory of life in front of me, it's very easy then to, you know, like, look at this uncertain times, to just rise above the circumstances, you know, and to say, you know what, this too will pass. Because first of all, I'm not in control of this, you know, like, when I say God suffices, you know, I mean, I give it to God, like, in my life, you know, that's my creator, you know, like, I mean, I say, this is your journey, you're with me, thank you so much. And, you know, there's just this comfort knowing that there is someone else going with you on the journey. So I hope that answers some of it. So thank you. It was a lovely question, Winnie.
Great, thank you. It's just with all these really issues, you do need to know who you are. That's really be rooted, and just allowing yourself to see and to think about it, you know, just to understand, and then figure out what to do and how to do it. So that leads me to another question I would like to ask Irene. Irene, during your presentation, there were 3 elements that the challenges that you faced. As a business owner myself, I appreciated a lot what you were talking about, especially while we face, you know, our employees. And you have a heart, and you know, you do care, but you do need to lead the company to a better future. So in terms of trying to just balance and trying to make sure everyone's together, yet you need to make some tough decisions. And I believe that will create some emotional burden. And so emotional burden is more severe than the physical ones, I believe, because sometimes we break down because of the emotional burden that's so heavy, and that's just creating a lot of health issues for us. Could you please share your experience in this? Thank you, Irene.
Thank you, Winnie, for the question. Yeah, I think this is part of the tough things in reality that as entrepreneurs or business owners that have to deal with. I think as a general manager, you know, my job is to ensure the company to survive this prolonged pandemic and remain profitable. And in order to do so, I had to make quite a few tough decisions on a regular basis, at times maybe, if not daily. I think one of the toughest decisions that I had to make was to let go more than 140 contract temporary workers. You know, as I was acutely and cruelly aware of the fact that, you know, each workers represents one family. And for any of them to lose, you know, a job or any income at a time such as this, really imposed like detrimental stresses and sense of uncertainty to them. And I think with, doing what had to be done, but however, the emotional burden, even till today, just being almost a year now, even till today, I still have a difficult time dealing with it. And a lot of times, especially when I go to the factory, when I see the workers, I can sense, everyone is still worried. And I think as a business owner, in a way, I feel guilty that in the sense that, I failed to provide them with the sense of security needed in getting through this time.
Please don't be too harsh on yourself. You're doing so much in Taiwan. Guai guai. Oh my goodness, it's you're coming back strong, and I'm sure you'll be able to bring back the workers and to just to make a big difference. Thank you, Irene. Really appreciate that. So with having said that, Eileen, you talk about flying here and there. I could not imagine, although I've been doing that myself. I'm with you. Not being able to fly sometimes is good. To just stay put and to just shuffle what's important and to understand the priorities. So with Eileen, I would like to ask, in your travels around the world, what have you learned about gender equality?
Okay, thank you, Winnie. That's a great question. But before I answer your questions, I want to say something that, because my speech was being cutting out earlier, and I received a lot of emails from the audience, and they're really interesting about the wallet I was talking about. And this one is the one that I'm saying it's not for sale, but there was a lady called Nico Rose, because she's basically think that she's really interested in the wallet. So I'm gonna send her one wallet after this speech. Yeah. Anyway, so back to your questions. I believe that a majority of people may think the Western countries and Asia have a different view on gender equality, and I'll be honest, they are mostly right. However, I'm proud to say that I think Taiwan has been at the front of gender equality in Asia, since I frequently travel between Japan, Korea, and Taiwan before the pandemic, of course. I have firsthand experience with the work culture in each country. In Japan, for example, it has improved a lot in the last 10 to 15 years. In 2006, I noticed that the majority of the student body at my university were men. I can safely say that it was over 90% of the guys at my graduate school. Come on, it's an accounting school. This would be considered rare when compared to business schools, students in Western countries, or even other Asian countries too. Well, it seems in recent years, though, that the ratio of female and male students is increasing, in the higher education and also graduate school in Japan. And the Japanese government is now encouraging women to have been married and have children to go back to work again. And this kind of forward-thinking trend is positive direction for Japan. And I hope that other Asian countries can soon follow suit. As a woman, a businesswoman, I think it's important to help each other and support each other, especially to build up the network together. And I have to say that on the topic of networking, I met Winnie at the Women on Board Academy, which is a one-year program hosted by Women on Board in Taiwan. And I really want to thank you for Winnie giving me this opportunity to speak in front of all of you today. And I would like to personally thank for inviting me join all this group of successful businesswomen. And let me get back to Winnie.
Thank you, Eileen. I'm sure we'll have a lot of people asking for that card. It's just so cute. Thank you for that. I would like to propose a question for all ladies for all you ladies. How has this period changed your perspective on life? Last year is just how has it changed changed your perspective? Cynthia, may I start with you?
Sure. I was just thinking about it as you were saying, because the one thing that I know about perspectives is it just keeps changing. Your life story changes, your perspective changes. Your circumstances change, your perspectives change. You drink a different drink, your perspective change. You eat something else, your perspectives change. And, something as huge as this event, as a phase that has just transpired, the COVID-19 and all the aftermath, that it brought in its wake. I mean, that was a huge dose to swallow, in the sense. And, and I have actually been thinking about this question because, with perspectives, we also change, right? our stories change. So I've been thinking, actually, to me, it was quite an illusion at some point, I thought, okay, this is not true. This is not happening, And so as I went along and, as I started actually accepting, that, okay, these things are happening, I am changing in this way, I am me, but I'm changing and, my life story is changing and it started changing, me, my take on myself, because, I am a strong woman, I've been a single mother for a long time, I've traveled internationally, worked internationally for many years as a single mother, coming from a nation like India, going out into the world, where you face so much of discrimination one way or the other, and finding my ground through all of that. And, but this phase, it taught me, what it did is it brought me to my knees in a way, because I realized that, there is a certain part of me that is also, a woman who just needs to be nourished, who wants to be loved and who wants to be cherished. And, so I was surprised to see that part of me. Then, I had to, and then later on, as I came back to who I really am, just finding my way back and all. And then I said, what, it's important to not just be that person, to acknowledge a part of you, but it's also important to let other people into your life, to let yourself be the sensitive person you are, to let yourself be vulnerable, to honor the strength in you, but to also honor the vulnerability in you. So that's how it kind of changed my perspective, by changing it within my own self. So thank you. I hope that answers some.
May I ask Irene the same question? How has this period changed your perspective on life?
Thank you, Winnie. For me, one thing I realized is that because before I've always known to my friends and colleagues as a workaholic, and I'm single with no family, no children, so I had the luxury to really focus on career. However, one thing I realized from last year is that in order to be the pillar and support to your loved ones, and in my case, a company now still with more than 250 employees, I can only guide and protect them when I myself am healthy enough. For last year, I continued to push myself despite my body, sending me all kind of warning signs, like insomnia, severe insomnia, fatigue, weight gain due to metabolism, immune system, autonomic nerve disorders. And yet I ignored all of them until a tour in fall, my body completely shut down and I was too sick to continue to work, and was forced to bed rest and work from home for about 3 weeks. So that really changed my perspective on what's the most important thing in life and my priorities. So I think, our health should definitely outweigh any of our duties, and definitely more so than our jobs.
Thank you, for sure. That's so true. Having a healthy body and a calm mind. Thank you, Irving, for sharing. What about you, Wendy?
Okay,
how has this period changed your perspective on life?
Thank you for asking, Winnie. Well, I've learned crisis means opportunities, or more like I was convinced with that. That gives me strength to face all the crises here. Industries like food delivery, over-the-top media service had grasped the opportunities to grow. Of course, they did play a role during the pandemic. Or we can try to turn crisis into opportunities, just like what Irene did, right? To me, this period has proved to me that every cloud has a silver lining, and we could find it if we try hard. This unfortunate event for the world had provided Taiwan with an opportunity to show true character and strength as a small island, especially in the medical field. During this time of crisis, we are not only able to take care of our own people, but also more than willing to make our best efforts to help other countries. The unity I felt on our island, our medical team, has been a special gift to me. Moreover, I've learned to surrender. We have to face the crisis, embrace the inconvenience that pandemic prevention could bring. We couldn't have blocked the virus at the border before the outbreak if we didn't face up to the pandemic it could cause in the very beginning. And it's also important to seize the opportunities to learn. I've personally learned some medical knowledge about virus and epidemic preventions. In 2020, Taiwan had been following the changes of the global pandemic so we could respond better to the possible situation that might arise. We don't want to have another 2020 in the future. But when there is, I believe that we will be able to respond with more confidence then. So how about you, Eileen? Please share with us.
Thank you, Wendy, for the question. As I mentioned in my presentation, the biggest impact on my life over the past years was that I couldn't watch baseball games as often as before. I went from going to 70 games to only being able to watch no more than 10 games last year. I remember one of my bosses asking me, if you had to choose between baseball or your mom, which would you choose? I answered him with a story. A few years ago, my mom had asked me whether or not I will be back in Taiwan prior to Chinese New Year. I told her that I didn't have time, unfortunately. About a month later, she called me to say that she will come into Japan for vacation and that she will be coming sometime in November. She said that she would love to have a nice dinner with me while her stay in Tokyo. But the problem was, I was not going to be in Japan at that time. I was actually going back to Taiwan. When I broke the news to her, she was like, oh, is it for baseball, isn't it? And I paused and said, you know me too well. And while laughing, she said, nothing is more important than baseball to you. Anyways, I could tell my boss was a busy man and didn't have time for more stories. So I stopped and answered him with, yeah, I would choose baseball. But thinking back though, while baseball was and is still a very important part of my life, I probably would have answered differently. If you were to ask me now, I would definitely choose my mom, and she would, of course, have to attend all the games with me. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to invite Winnie to answer her own question. And by the way, I would like to hear how the pandemic changes your perspective on life, not whether you would choose your mom over baseball.
Sorry, that's really cute. Yeah, I'm sure your mom would love to go to baseball games with you. She would do anything for you, I'm sure. How has this period changed my perspective on life? I think taking care of myself, for sure. Prioritizing. I have limited time, but there's so many things I wanted to do and I still want to do. So I think one thing is I started learning. I think I need to continue to learn because everything is changing. So last year, a lot of things shifted. So after they shifted, I can't stay in one mode. I need to understand what's happening, and then I need to gather all the information. I need to think. I need to understand. So understanding and then thinking and then strategizing. It's just a lot going in my head. So alone time is also important. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to manage my time properly, but I think a lot of these changes allow me to continue to shift my list, the items on my list. And I'm sure I'm on the top right now. I have to take care of myself before I can take care of, you know, my family and the company. So I do think I have been trying to do too many things, but what's really important and what's the core and what do I value? So I do truly, I realize I value education a lot, and I did not realize how much I value that until last year. Although I knew, but I didn't know how much, you know, how much I value the essence of education and how and what we should do for our next generation and for ourselves as parents and as adults. So that really set that tone or that pace for me. So I'm so determined that, you know, I'm going to advocate for education for kids, for adults, and for everyone. And that needs to, and that I think provides that power and that strength for us to continue to move forward, because we're not scared anymore, right? And because we understand we're in touch and we're in control. We're in touch of the world. We're in control. So we're not scared. And not being scared, I think it helps. It gives us a calm mind and, you know, just be able to move forward. So thank you for asking me. I didn't know I get to answer, but it's good. It's good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts on this one. And I have one more question, and that is, what did this period reveal to you? Right? Just a lot of uncertainties, a lot of challenges, a lot of what's next, you know, anticipations. So Wendy, could you please share your thoughts on this question?
Okay, thank you, Winnie. I guess for this question, we're talking about something more internal, right? I've seen how strong medical system of Taiwan is. Because of the past experience with SARS back in 2003, the Taiwanese government and medical profession were able to respond to the current pandemic in the most efficient way. Actually, I had no idea I could be this proud of my work and my colleagues if it wasn't for this time of trial. All medical staff in the whole world during this time show true professionalism. We know the danger and risk of being at work, but we didn't run from it. Instead, we stand strong together as a team. Actually, not just in Taiwan. I'm also proud when seeing doctors all over the world fighting against the pandemic. I can feel the bond between us, linked by a Hippocratic oath. That's something new to me. Meanwhile, the only concern I had on my heart was putting my family at risk. Since symptoms of COVID-19 are so common, non-specific, when we have symptoms such as fever, cough, sore throat, can't help but concern if we were infected with COVID. For instance, I had fever and sore throat several months ago, and I didn't dare to go home for weeks. Even I already went to receive examination of COVID-19, I still worried if there was false negative, if I would get my family infected. This was a vulnerability that never occurred to me before. How about you, Winnie? I would like to know your answer.
Yeah, it's before we do anything, I think keeping our minds calm. And I think any actions the person I'm dealing with has to feel secured before I could communicate what we need to do. So I think that's what I also learned and what I understood, and what the whole situation, it actually allowed me to appreciate what I probably took it for granted. like communication. What is effective communication? And how do we understand what the other person really truly needs to understand and hear? But how do we open up that communication channel first before we can convey our content and communicate? So I think that's very important. So not just from me, you listen, but also understand, appreciate what the other person is trying to share with us. And together we're able to do something better and more. And that's what it's revealed to me. Thank you. So Irene, I would like to ask you the same question. What did this period reveal to you?
Thank you, Winnie. I think look after yourselves. I think taking time off or having a long time is necessary for anyone to be able to release stress, to recuperate, to reflect, and also to recalibrate. That will help us to be ready to face the next challenge. And I think having the agility to roll with the punches in facing anticipated or unforeseen challenges is also equally important. I think our experiences with the technology glitches this morning would be the perfect example. Like, no matter how well we're prepared, there will always be something happen, that was not anticipated. So yeah, I think we just need to have the agility to, identify the problem, to adapt, and then solve the problem. And I think lastly is like, we don't need to be superwoman. We can't be perfect in everything. We can't be tough and, be there for anyone and everyone at any given time. So I think it's okay to, ask for help or show signs of weakness. And I think, it is important to have this kind of a bond and also community where we feel secure and safe enough to share. So that's what my takeaway. So Eileen, what about you? What has last year revealed to you?
Okay, thank you. Friendship indeed. I didn't realize how important friendship was to me. I remember that last year around February that I came to Taiwan for a business trip, and I thought it would only be a few days, but it turned out to be over 8 months. So when international travel happened, I realized that I had left everything in my apartment in Tokyo. My computer was still running, and also I had some food in the fridge. And did I even turn off the light off in the bathroom? I had totally no idea. So I called one of my friends who lived close by and to ask him if he could check on my apartment. Luckily, I had left the key in the mailbox so he could get in. He turned off my computer and even cleaned out my fridge. And then he would also check on my apartment every once in a while. I'm so appreciate that his help, because if he wasn't there, then my computer might have been exploded and my fridge will be host to some new form of life. And I don't want to see such ecosystem developing there. So this is also a reminder of when I had to self-quarantine in Taiwan for 14 days upon arriving from Japan last year, about November. This was a very special experiences for me. Well, you consider 14 days self-quarantine isn't that long, but at first I think I'll be fine. So I could just watch TV, Netflix and baseball games all day to ride out, the quarantine. But I think 7 days into my quarantine, I start to feel sick, not physically sick, but mentally sick. I remember waking up on a Sunday morning and just crying for no reason. And I was not only bored, but also lonely. So luckily, my friends came to rescue me, of course, not physically. A lot of them just giving me a call and trying to, make me laugh. So the rest of the time that I was enjoying with my friends while I'm staying in a hotel. Now, I'm not so sure when and if I will have to do the quarantine again, but what I do know is we need to make more friends and connections. That way I will have more people to call, just not only within the quarantine or not. Anyway, thank you for listening to my story. I want to ask Cynthia about the questions. Cynthia, what has this period been revealing to you?
Hey, thank you for the question. Well, actually, the answer is really clear to me. Through my struggles, it has first of all revealed to me that, we are stronger than we think we are. I mean, we have, unless you face troubles and challenges, you do not know the strength you have within you. So, one thing I realized that we are stronger than we think we are. And also, it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to reach out. It is okay to ask someone to come and give you a hug, to come and give you a hand, to just be part of your circle of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. May I ask all our panelists to give a closing remark? Let me start with you, Arlene. Thank you.
Thank you, Winnie, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's truly an honor and privilege for me to have the chance to share my story at this forum. I've always, since I was young, I've always loved the United Nations and also as well as Women's Federation for World Peace, especially for Taiwan chapter. So really appreciate having the opportunity to take part and contributed in however I could in this forum. So, and thank you to my co-panelists. It's been amazing working with you all, and you have all been an inspiration to me. Thank you.
Wendy, can you please share a closing remark? Thank you.
Okay, I would like to tell the other women out there, trust the strength inside you and draw the strength from people around you. You may be able to lead to something extraordinary. And it's really extraordinary to join this forum. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Eileen, could you please share your closing remark?
Okay, thanks, Winnie. What I would like everyone to take away from what I have said today is there is always a positive side to an otherwise unfortunate and unexpected event. It's important to always stay optimistic and learn to adapt. Lastly, please stay positive and taste negative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Cynthia, could you please share your closing remark?
Sure. Well, my closing remark is very messy. Every mess, we all have messes, and whatever name you want to call it, we all have our own messes. And my message for you is to find your message in your mess. And when you find your message in your mess, share that message with someone, because share it with your loved one, share it with someone else, because that could be their stepping stone. And, it's an important part of your journey. It will be an important part of their journey. Thank you, Winnie.
Thank you. And my closing remark is challenge the impossible and conquer the unbeatable. I gave myself that quote when I was in college, so I like to share that with you. So challenge the impossible and conquer the unbeatable. Last but not least, we're towards the end of this forum. I would like to thank NGO CSW for making this virtual forum possible and connecting women from all over the world. I'd like to thank my panelists, Irene, Wendy, Eileen, and Cynthia. You guys, beautiful ladies, and truly I'm inspired by you. Thank you. And I'd like to thank our back support, WFWP Taiwan President Grace Ho, and Sophie Lin, Grace Fang, Weber, Sora, and Cindy. And a big thank you for all the attendees for staying with us for the past 2 hours. I do apologize for what happened at the beginning of this forum, but hey, we conquered it, and I think we shared what we wanted to share with you, and I hope you all enjoy listening to our stories. And last but not least, if you have any questions, please leave us your question with your email address, and we will get back to you shortly. And once again, thank you for joining us. And I would like to use this opportunity, maybe let's wave goodbye. And hopefully, like what Wendy said, we will see each other in New York next year, 2022. And hopefully we can be all, we can go to New York and just see each other, greet each other in person. So that would be great. Okay, so let's just say goodbye. And it's a great pleasure being here and hosting this forum. And I hope you all enjoy this forum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.